right, we're at 10 o'clock. Kenny, Ryan, are we okay? We're good to go?
We are good to go. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Today, the time is 10 o'clock. It is May 30th. I'll call the planning board meeting to order. We have the following board members with us. We have Vice Chair Bailey. Good morning, Ms. Bailey.
Good morning.
We have Commissioner Washington.
Good morning, all.
And Commissioner Giraldo.
Good morning, and nice job of redecorating your kitchen, Commissioner Washington.
Very fancy, very fancy. I agree. And I am Chair Shapiro, and we have a quorum. And please note that the deadline for all participant pre-registration for all submission of materials was 12 noon on the Tuesday before this planning board meeting. Registered speakers may join the meeting with a link provided in the email provided by the planning board office, or may listen by phone by utilizing the call-in number provided in the email. And of course, anyone may tune in to watch a planning board meeting via live stream. If you wish to speak or become a person of record, you may use the online web form, which you'll see referenced on the screen before us. In addition to the commissioners, we are joined by Ms. Tallarico, our Associate General Counsel. Good morning, Ms. Tallarico. We have Jessica Jones, our Planning Board Administrator, Rhonda Ford, Technical Hearing Writer, and James Hunt, Division Chief for the Development Review Division. Good morning, Mr. Hunt. And thank you, Mr. Flanagan and Mr. Crown, for all your technology assistance behind the scenes, as always. Commissioners, the order of cases is going to change a little bit. When we get to regular agenda items, we're going to take items 12 and then 10, and then we'll go through the rest of the order. And our first action is item 2. I have some commissioners' items that we'll get to them in just a minute or two. I want to take care of a little business first. Item 2, look for a motion to approve the draft minutes of May 23, 2024.
Move approval.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Vice Chair Bailey. If there's no discussion on the motion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. So now we're going to go into executive session, folks. This will probably take about 10 minutes. It should be a relatively quick one. Pursuant to the general provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Article 3-305, subsection B1I, a closed session is proposed to discuss a personnel matter related to the planning director hiring process. I look for a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Giraldo, second by Commissioner Washington. If there's no discussion on the motion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. So we will go into executive session, and for the public and other staff, we'll be back in probably about 10 minutes at the most, I would say. Might even give yourself only 5 minutes. Thanks.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Chair, this is Jessica.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that you had the updated language for the citation. Rhonda, did he have the most recent one for the appointment?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought he
believe
said
that there might have been a slight misspeak on it, but it was
There-
a discussion to
okay.
discuss a personnel matter regarding an appointed position.
right. I just wanted to point out
Yeah,
that updated
there was-
language.
So
Yeah, I
thank
think
you.
he had an older, prior
All right, so-
language. Yeah.
Let's take more generalized language, and this is related to a hiring process within the planning department. How about that? If the maker of the motion is okay and the seconder of the motion is okay with that,
Yeah, that's fine with me.
okay. Do we need to revote, Laura, or we're okay?
I think you're okay.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go see you on executive session, and for the public, 5 minutes should be okay. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
from executive session. It says we will start at 10:15. Well, heck now, do we need to wait 3 minutes? A little legal advice, Ms. Tallarico. Do we need to wait 3 minutes or are we good to go?
I would give it the 3 minutes since we told people 10 minutes, just to make sure everyone gets back who wants to be here.
All
for
right,
the item.
we're good to go. So folks, we'll be starting up at 10:15 sharp, 3 minutes. See you all in just a few minutes. Morning, everybody. We are gathering back from a quick break after our executive session. Let's give a minute or so for my colleagues to rejoin us, and then we will start back up. All right, Kenny, Ryan, we're good to go?
Yes, we are good to go.
Okay, excellent. All right, we're back from executive session. We are back in open session. First thing I want to do is note that in closed session, we were discussing a personnel matter related to the acting deputy planning director position. And we have some exciting news that's going to be following a vote that's about to be taken, I believe. Commissioners, what is your pleasure on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint James Hunt as our acting deputy planning director.
Second.
I enthusiastically move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Washington, second by Commissioner Giraldo.
I want to be noted as the second as well.
We have a third as well. If I could fourth it, I'd fourth it. I would say there will be plenty of discussion. Why don't we take a vote and then we'll have lots of time to sort of share our thoughts as well. So if there's no discussion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye
Vice Chair Bailey. Enthusiastically, Vice Chair Bailey.
I vote aye twice.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Mr. Hunt, Acting Deputy Planning Director.
Thank you.
So, Director Hull is here. You may have a few things to say. Commissioners, you may have things to say. And Mr. Hunt, we'll give you about 45 minutes for a speech. But Director Hull, if you want to kick us off for a quick sec, that would be wonderful.
Wonderful. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So good morning. Thank you guys for accepting my selection. And so super happy to have Mr. Hunt join me in the executive team of the planning department. Many of you guys know that he does a phenomenal job here in the department. He's been with the commission for about 6 years. Previously, he was the division chief for development review. So some really cool things about James that probably many of you already know about, but others are happy to learn. He has a very impressive 20-year career. He worked with the city of Alexandria in Virginia. He also worked with North Carolina Department of Transportation, comes with a wealth of experience, has a degree from the University of Baltimore and also a degree from University of North Carolina at Greensboro. So some of the things that James Hunt is going to help me at over the next few months throughout the calendar year is continue to advance my 4 keys. And so I'm about partnerships, projects, placemaking, and people. And so with his skill set, it's going to complement me a lot in how we're trying to look forward to what the council just adopted with our budget. We have some great master and sector plans we're trying to work on. We're trying to do a lot more best practices that we're seeing across the country, missing middle housing. You guys saw a presentation, ADUs, looking at transportation more for our wonderful county. We're also looking at more recruitment and retention programs. And we're really trying to streamline the development review process so that when things come before this esteemed board, that it's really able to move forward these developments a lot faster. So I'm really, really excited about this opportunity for us to have a leader that is proven and that will continue to do great things for the commission. Thank you.
Wonderful. I couldn't be happier. It's difficult to see Derek go. There's so much institutional knowledge there. We were able to speak to him last week, and we had a good farewell party for him yesterday. I just couldn't be more excited about the big shoes that are going to be filled by you, James. You are absolutely the right choice, and I'm happy that you accepted this. And I think Director Hull made a great decision recommending this to us. So very, very happy about it.
I just want to
I'm
double
excited.
down on the chairs. Oh, Commissioner?
Nope, go ahead. You went
Okay.
first.
Thank you. I just wanted to double down on the chair's comments, James. I remember 6 years ago when you first started and you were sitting over to the right, and I was like, oh my God, look how time has flown. But I'm so excited and happy for you. You have been a phenomenal right hand to this board in your current capacity, and I'm excited to see you continue to spread your wings as you move into this new acting position. So
I'll adopt the words of the chair, and I'll adopt the words of Commissioner Washington, and I'll adopt the future words of Ms. Bailey, and say that I enthusiastically am happy for you. But most important is that you're from South County. So I expect big things for South County. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. Well deserved, and in my book, you're the best of the best. And so we're happy to have you take this position, and we're looking for more great things from you. You've always, and you're so cool in everything that you do. So thank you for coming on board, and thank you for accepting this position. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you indeed. It's truly an honor that you all have trusted me in this position. So I'm truly blessed in this, and I can't tell you all how much I'm appreciative of it. It means a lot to me and my family as well. So thank you all for everything. I will do all I can to make sure to keep South County proud, as well as all of Prince George's County at the same time. So, and I will say this for each of you, I've learned so much from you over the years as well. So thank you for pouring into me at the same time in our community. So thank you.
Great.
that's wonderful.
Now,
Congratulations.
can we clap now?
Well done, sir. All right, let's keep moving along. I couldn't be happier about this. Under Commissioner's items, speaking of celebrations, I wanted to flag one other thing, and this is for one of your colleagues, James, Katina. Katina Schollers, who's the division chief of the Countywide Planning Division. Ms. Schollers, are you there? Are you in the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yep. Can't see you, but we can hear you. So folks, this is just an announcement, but on May 7th, 2024, the County Council adopted CB20, CB21, CB22. This was a bill package that updated the county's woodland conservation ordinance. This was a huge, huge deal. A whole lot of work from a whole lot of people to make this happen. And our team really, really, really took the leadership around this at the local level, at the state level. So I want to thank the environmental planning section long range team who worked diligently within, this is less than a year, to prepare all the amendments designed to meet the state's goals of no net loss of forest and tree canopy. They did a wonderful job. The amendments will take effect July 1st, 2024. The section is preparing us all for implementation. So Ms. Schollers, I really, really want to thank you, but not just you, your entire team, Tom Burke and Megan Reiser, Kim Finch, Mark Juba, Marion Hamsi, Maureen Farrington, the legal departments, so many people who are involved in this effort. Director Hull, you must be proud of your team as we are. And I just really wanted to recognize you all publicly for this pretty significant thing that's going to have an incredibly positive impact on the county. So thank you, and thank you to all the team.
Thank you, Chairman. I really appreciate it. And since I'm here, I just want to say, yay, James. I'm so proud of you. I'm so honored to call you boss today.
I have to say, I was thinking about that too, James, considering that you'll have now Katina and Tony reporting to you. Your job is going to be pretty easy. How about that?
I've got to get in on the love too. Congratulations, James. We're so proud of you.
Yes,
Thank you both. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I tell you what, colleagues, this is quite the team we have here in the planning department.
Agreed.
Couldn't be happier, couldn't be more proud. So well done, folks. Really well done.
Indeed.
Great.
So that is it for commissioners' announcements that I have, and move on to the consent agenda. We have a number of items on the consent agenda. Commissioners, what's your pleasure on the consent agenda?
After consideration of records of items 4B, 4D, and 4E, I move adoption of the staff findings and approval of these items on the consent agenda in accordance with the recommendation of staff.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey, for the motion, Commissioner Washington for the second. Is there anyone here who wishes to oppose staff's recommendations on these items, or any board member wishes to discuss any of these items? If not, then I will call the roll. Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you. We'll now move on to our regular agenda items. We will start with item 12 on our agenda. As I noted, the cases, the order of cases is going to change. We'll take up 12 and 10, and then we'll go through the order as described. Item 12 is preliminary plan of subdivision 4-23046 Central Industrial Park. Mr. Howler is representing the applicant. This is an evidentiary hearing, so if we have anyone who's going to be speaking on this besides Mr. Howler, we'll swear them in at that time. Ms. Van Vatendust, and I apologize for butchering your name there. Vatendust. Is that it?
Right, yes.
Okay, there we go. I apologize for that. We'll be giving the staff presentation, and we'll turn it over to you. Take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, I'm Mahsa Vatendust with the subdivision section. Item number 12 on the agenda is a preliminary plan of subdivision 4-23046 titled Central Industrial Park. The subdivision proposes one parcel for 22,028 square feet of industrial development. This application is supported by an approved certificate of adequacy ADQ-2023-079. No citizen has signed up to speak on this case, and staff has not received any exhibits prior to the Tuesday noon deadline. The applicant has indicated that they agree with the staff recommended conditions of approval. Based on the findings presented in the technical staff report, staff recommend that the planning board approve this preliminary plan of subdivision 4-23046 and variation request from section 24-122A, subject to the findings and conditions in the staff report. This concludes the staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vatendust. Commissioners, if there's no questions for staff, Mr. Howler, anything you want to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thomas Howler on behalf of the owner and applicant in this case. We have nothing more to add to what staff has presented. We concur with the staff's findings and recommendations and all of the conditions of the ADQ as well. I do want to just briefly congratulate Mr. Hunt for his new appointment. I couldn't be more excited for him, and really appreciate and have thoroughly enjoyed working with him over the years, and look forward to working with him for many years to come.
Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. On his behalf, we appreciate the kind words.
Thank you.
Commissioners, if there's no question for the applicant, there's no one else who signed up to speak, I'll close the public hearing. If there is no deliberation on this, I would look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve preliminary plan 4-23046 and variation from section 24-122A, along with the conditions as outlined in staff's report.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Commissioner Giraldo. So if there's no discussion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it, 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Vatendust, and thank you, Mr. Howler.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move on to item 10 on our agenda. This is a detailed site plan DET 2023-021 Willowdale Self-Storage. Mr. Horn is representing the applicant. This is a request for continuance. And we have Ms. Gomez Rojas, who will be giving a brief staff presentation on this. This also is an evidentiary hearing, but the request is for a continuance. Ms. Gomez Rojas, we'll start with you.
Good morning. Do we need to sound check?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Thanks for checking.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I am Natalia Gomez with the Urban Design section. Item number 10 on the agenda is detailed site plan DET-2023-021 titled Willowdale Self-Storage, which proposes the development of a consolidated storage facility with accessory outdoor storage and office uses. There is also an associated type 2 tree conservation plan. The applicant has requested a continuance until July 18, 2024, citing an unforeseen personal emergency. Staff recommends that the Planning Board approve the request for continuance to July 18, 2024. This concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Commissioners, if there's no questions for staff, Mr. Horn, anything you want to add?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. Again, nothing to add, just thank you for your consideration. I do want to join in with the choir saying that we're so pleased for Mr. Hunt, so well deserved, very excited for him, and want to congratulate Ms. Hull on an excellent decision.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. Appreciate that. Commissioners, if there's no questions for staff, then what is your pleasure on this item, request for continuance?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request for continuance of DET-2023-021 to Planning Board hearing date of July 18, 2024.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Commissioner Giraldo, I believe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye, but I was expecting Mr. Horn, since he wanted to join the choir, that he was going to sing.
Some people probably hadn't had breakfast this morning, so you won't want to hear that.
Okay.
I don't know, Ms. Tellerico, do we need a suspension of the rules for Arthur Horn to sing? I don't really know.
I don't believe so. But
All right, we're still calling the roll. We have a vote by Commissioner Washington, a vote by Commissioner Giraldo, and Ms. Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Gomez, and thank you, Mr. Horn. And thank you for not singing. Next, we have item 5 on our agenda. This is preliminary subdivision 4-23023 Galilee Baptist Church. Jet Parker is representing the applicant, I believe. I don't see Mr. Parker. We have Ms. Gupta, who's going to give the staff presentation. Do we have the representative of the applicant here? I see Pastor McGriff.
Jet Parker is here.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Oh, my.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. All right, we see you and hear you. We'll turn to staff first. This also is an evidentiary hearing, so if there are folks besides Mr. Parker who are going to be speaking, then we'll swear them into the time. I believe there was somebody signed up in opposition on this as well. So we'll swear people in as we go along, and we'll start with Ms. Gupta. Take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, I'm Ridula Gupta with the subdivision section. Item number 5 on the agenda is a preliminary plan of subdivision 4-23023 titled Galilee Baptist Church. The subdivision proposes 2 parcels for 38,988 square feet of institutional development. This application is supported by an approved certificate of adequacy ADQ-2023-043. Staff has not received any exhibits prior to the Tuesday noon deadline. And I wanted to clarify that one individual who did sign up, I reached out to him and it appears that they had signed up for another case on the agenda, Duncan Lanham, and they had not signed up to speak on this case. Just to clarify that. And based on the findings presented in the technical staff report, staff recommend that the planning board approve this preliminary plan of subdivision 4-23023, type 1 tree conservation plan TCP 1-003-2016-01, and a variance from section 25-122B1G, subject to the findings and conditions in the staff report. If it's the pleasure of the board to make a motion, this would conclude staff's presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Gupta. Commissioners, any questions? And thanks for the clarification on the person who signed up. Commissioners, any questions for staff? If there are none, we'll turn to the applicant, Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Majette Parker, Law Office Majette S. Parker, here on behalf of the applicant, Galilee Baptist Church. We have with us Pastor Lloyd McGriff, who is the pastor of the church, Reverend McGriff, Ken Bowes, who is a member and chairman of the building committee, David Bickle and Tim Davis from Soltez, Pat Ricker, and others too, supporting this application. We're very pleased with the detail found in the staff report, and we have no objection. We accept everything that was stated and ask for a approval of this preliminary plan of subdivision and associated documents. And also just want to give a thank you for the work that the board has already done earlier today in approving Mr.
Gallery.
Can you hear me?
Somebody needs to mute. Oh, there we go. You're fine, Mr. Parker. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, we just want to congratulate Mr. Hunt and the entire Maryland National Park and Planning Commission for elevating him to that position, and Ms. Hall for making that recommendation. I'm not going to sing. I didn't want to join the choir. Just saying we're congratulating you all for that. Thank
I
you.
heard you sing pretty good.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff, for the applicant rather, related to this issue? Pastor McGriff, we see you and appreciate you being here as well. If there's no one else who signed up to speak on this, so if there are no questions for either staff or the applicant, then I will close the public hearing and turn it back to us. If there is no deliberation on this issue, then commissioners, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve preliminary plan 4-23023, TCP 1-003-2016-01, and variance from section 25-122B1G, along with the conditions as detailed in staff's report.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Commissioner Giraldo. Is there any discussion on the motion? No discussion. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Ms. Gupta, thank you for all your work on this. Pastor, thank you very much. And Mr. Parker, thank you as well.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
we'll move on to item 6 on our agenda. This is DSP 23014, Trinity Religious Temple Church. We have Mr. Antonetti, who's representing the applicant. Mr. Price will be giving the staff presentation. This also is an evidentiary hearing. I don't believe there's anyone signed up to speak, but if there is, I'll swear them in at the appropriate time. And we will turn it over to Mr. Price for a staff presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I'm Todd Price with the Urban Design Section. Item 6, DSP-23014, Trinity Religious Temple Church, is requesting approval for the physical site elements necessary to allow for a 125-seat church with parsonage to occupy the existing buildings on the property. The applicant is also requesting approval of a variance from section 27-441B, footnote 52, which requires the minimum setback for all buildings to be 25 feet from each lot line. The existing church does not meet this requirement along the eastern lot line. It should be noted that the church was built in 1963, 30 years prior to the 25-foot setback requirement being implemented in 1993. The subject property is located at the southeast quadrant of the intersection of Iverson Street and Boydell Avenue. This application has been reviewed and evaluated in accordance with the prior zoning ordinance. The prior zone was RR. Staff would like to address a couple of technical issues regarding the staff report. First, the applicant has requested an application name change from Trinity Religious Temple Church to Trinity Temple Church of God, Inc. Second, staff would like to state that the recommendation section of the staff report should include approval of the variance to section 27-441B, footnote 52. If approved, the resolution for the DSP will be drafted to correct these two issues. Otherwise, the applicant has reviewed the technical staff report and is in full agreement. Staff has not received any community opposition to this application. The urban design section recommends the planning board adopt the findings of the technical staff report and approve DSP-23014 and the variance to section 27-441B, footnote 52, with the conditions found in the report. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Commissioners, any questions for staff? If no questions, we'll turn to the applicant. Mr. Antonetti, anything you want to add?
Good morning, Chair Shapiro, members of the Planning Board. For the record, Robert Antonetti of the law firm of Shipley and Horn. Today with me, I do have the Pastor Plummer, and members of our development team here to answer any questions, but we do support the staff's recommendation. I do want to thank Mr. Price and other members of the staff for their coordination for this case. Due to a fire, an unfortunate fire, this non-conforming building has been closed, and now we need this detailed site plan to move it forward. So we certainly concur with the staff's recommendation and appreciate your support for both this DSP and the related variance. I also would like to join the choir and thank Mr. Hunt for all his wonderful service. He was so instrumental during the shutdown during the pandemic in keeping, being the liaison between development applicants, professionals as the work of the board continued. I don't think it can be stated enough how important he's been to the continued success of this county from the development perspective, development community. So I just want to thank him, and it's very well deserved. I also want to thank the chairman for not allowing Mr. Horn, my partner, to sing. That would have just ruined this whole day. But we're very grateful to be here today. We thank you for your consideration of this request, and we're here to answer any questions that you may have. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Antonetti. Commissioners, any questions for the applicants?
Is Mr. Antonetti going to sing?
Yeah, right.
I've been told I have the voice of an angel, but I will not share that today.
No singing.
Oh, one of those days.
Voice of an angel.
That's a good thing, I hope. We have no one who's signed up to speak on this. And if there's no questions for the applicant or staff, I will close the public hearing. And if there's no deliberation from us commissioners, what is your pleasure on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff to include the technical correction as read into the record by staff, and with that approve DSP-23014 and variance to section 27-441B, footnote 52, along with the condition as outlined in staff's report.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Commissioner Giraldo, and we have a comment or a question by Ms. Tallarico, our counsel.
Right. Just to be sure that the technical staff report with the corrections read into the record by staff. That is what the motion is, right?
I thought I said that first, so.
Oh, if you did say that, I so apologize for missing it.
That's okay. That's it. We're all focused on singing clearly today. So,
we're focused on not singing.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Commissioner Giraldo. Ms. Tallarico's clarified and we're okay. If there's no discussion on the motion, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
But I
vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Price, and thank you, Mr. Antonetti.
We can't get any signatures.
Next item is item 7 on our agenda, regular agenda items, detailed site plan DET 2022-012 Premier A2 Bowie. We have Mr. Tedesco, who is representing the applicant. Ms. Gomez is going to be giving the staff presentation. This also is an evidentiary hearing. So if there's anyone who's going to be speaking on this matter, I'll swear them in at the appropriate time. I don't believe we have anyone who's going to be speaking, but we'll see how this goes along. Let us start with staff. Ms. Gomez, take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I am Natalia Gomez with the Urban Design section. Item number 7 on the agenda is Detailed Site Plan DET-2022-012, titled Premier A2 Bowie, which proposes development of an 80,652 square foot consolidated storage facility. As a matter of housekeeping, prior to the Tuesday noon deadline, the applicant provided an exhibit requesting to revise condition 1A, which now would read, revise the signage schedule to remove the monument sign on the signage plan sheet, and also to remove condition 1B, which states, provide the monument sign details on the signage detail plan sheet. Staff is in agreement with the change proposed to condition 1A and the removal of condition 1B. In conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Board adopt the findings presented and approve the detailed site plan, DET 2022-012, subject to the conditions found in the technical staff report as revised by the applicant's exhibit. This concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. If there's no questions for staff, I'll turn to the applicant, or the applicant's representative, I should say, Mr. Tedesco.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Fantastic. Good morning again to you and to the members of the Planning Board, to staff and all those in attendance. For the record, Matthew Tedesco, the law firm of McNamee Hosey, here on behalf of the owner and applicant Premier A2 Bowie, Maryland, LLC. We have our full team with us who are registered, but I don't anticipate they will need to speak. Emily Gallagher with Kimley Horn, Jan Bryan with Michael Parker Studios, who's our architect, Michael Lenhart with Lenhart Traffic Consulting, and although not with us, members of the team include GS Proctor and Associates, who were very helpful with the tremendous amount of outreach that occurred in this case. I also want to take a moment to thank Mr. Joe Meinert and the City of Bowie, both the mayor and City Council, as well as their advisory planning board, all of whom recommended approval of this application, along with the prior preliminary plan of subdivision, which this board heard and approved back on April 4th, 2024. Also want to thank staff for its review, and I want to thank Ms. Gomez for her pinch hitting of this application and bringing it to the board and presenting it here this morning. I understand that her stepping in this capacity was probably somewhat short notice, but I do want to extend my appreciation and gratitude to her and the entire urban design team for its accommodations. I also want to take a moment to congratulate Mr. Hunt. I think James knows how much he means, in particular to many of us on this side of the street, but I echo Mr. Antonetti's comments, as well as Mr. Horn and Mr. Haller's, as well as Mr. Parker's comments about Mr. Hunt. I just would like to add that there's never been a moment since James has joined the commission where he has not been responsive, professional, courteous, understanding, solution-oriented, and not just for a certain result, but for the best result for the county. And that just goes such a long way for us and what we do. And I just want to thank him and congratulate him. And since Mr. Antonetti dropped off, I will tell you that he cannot sing. So you're great. And, despite his acknowledgement that he sings like an angel, I can promise you that he doesn't. But I too cannot sing, so I won't. But I do echo everyone's comments and want to thank James for everything that he's done, and I'm anxious to continue to work with him in this new capacity, new role. With that being said, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this project has a very long history. It is something that we've been working on. In my predecessor, the late Dan Lynch, worked on prior to my involvement. And although the entire team is here, as well as Mr. Cooper on behalf of the owner and applicant, who has since purchased the property, has invested in the county. This is his first project in the county. I'm so grateful to the city. I'm grateful to your staff, and on behalf of our team, we're thankful for this recommendation. We did submit revised conditions, as Ms. Gomez read into the record, and particularly those revisions to condition 1A and B are solely due to the fact that we are not proposing a monument sign, or the signage is subdued in this application. So we have elected not to include a monument sign. And so those corrections more or less just articulate that there will not be a monument sign associated with this use. So I could go on with more superlatives as it relates to this project, but it's all codified in your staff report as well as in our justification statement, which we further incorporate and adopt. And I'll stop there and answer any questions, and respectfully request the board's approval of this detailed site plan with recommended findings and conditions as modified by applicant's exhibit 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant on this item? Seeing none, I do see Mr. Minor is signed up. Mr. Minor, are you there? Is there anything you want to bring to us on this? If so, I need to swear you in. So
yes,
if you're going to speak, if you could raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
All right, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can be very brief. Our council did review this detailed site plan on their March 18th agenda, voted to recommend approval with no conditions. We're in support of the staff recommendation. And I did want to thank the developer for coming out to the city multiple times to meet with the city council, to meet with the staff. And I think this project is a good example of the new ordinance and how it has so many standards that benefit the community and good quality development. And so we did take our time and go through this review very thoroughly. And I think the final product is going to be a reflection on the of the good ordinance that we have in place now. So thank you for the opportunity to speak, Mr. Chairman, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Minor. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Minor? If not, I don't see anyone else who has signed up to speak on this. So I will close the public hearing. If there are no further questions for staff or the applicant, and I don't see any, close the public hearing. We are under deliberation. If there's no deliberation, then commissioners, I'd look for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve DET-2022-012, along with the conditions as outlined in staff's report and as further modified by applicant exhibit number 1.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Washington, second by Commissioner Giraldo. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
She's singing.
I know, she's singing. Let's give it a second while she pops back on.
I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, gosh, I have no idea what just happened.
That's some seriously bad timing.
Yeah.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Gomez, again. Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. We are now on item 8, and thank you, Mr. Minor, as well. We're now on item 8 on our agenda. This is a preliminary plan of subdivision 4-23021 U-Haul Company of Metro DC Incorporated, lots 4 and 5. Mr. Haller is representing the applicant. Lee, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, that's correct. Thank you, Mr. Howard. And Mr. Diaz-Campbell is going to give staff presentation. This is an evidentiary hearing. We may have somebody signed up to speak. It's not totally clear to me, but we'll get to that point when we get to it. And if so, I'll swear the person in. Mr. Diaz-Campbell, we'll turn it over to you. Take it away.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, I'm Eddie Diaz-Campbell, Planner 3 with the Subdivision Section. Item number 8 on the agenda is the preliminary plan subdivision for U-Haul Co. of Metro DC, Inc., lots 4 and 5, 4-23021. The subject project proposes 2 lots for 55,418 square feet of industrial development, of which 15,818 square feet is existing. The application is subject to approved certificate of adequacy ADQ-2023-041. No citizens have signed up to speak on this application, and no additional material was submitted prior to the noon deadline on May 28, 2024. The applicant has indicated that they agree with the staff recommended conditions of approval. Staff recommends adoption of the findings of the technical staff report, approval of a variation from section 24-121A3, and approval of the preliminary plan subdivision subject to conditions contained in the staff report. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz-Campbell. Is there any questions for the for staff? And let just to clarify, Mr. Haller, as we start, I think it's a technical error. Alex Andrews is signed up as other. I believe he's the applicant, and so that was just a mistake to sign him up as other. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, great. So then we have no opposition on this case. Mr. Haller, if there's no questions for staff, Mr. Haller, turn it to you. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Once again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Thomas Haller and attorney with offices in Largo, representing the owner and applicant in this case, U-Haul Company of Metro DC, Inc. The staff has gone through the application, and we fully concur with the recommendations of staff and the conditions as recommended in the staff report. I do have representatives of the team here today, but they're available to answer any questions the board may have. So we as I said, we concur with staff's recommendation. We appreciate the board's recommendation of approval on this preliminary plan and subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Haller. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? If there are none, we have no one who has signed up to speak on this case, so I don't see anybody, so we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, to you for any deliberation, and if not, I would look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve preliminary plan 4-23021, TCP 1-012-2024, and variation from section 24-121A3, along with the conditions as outlined in staff's report.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Commissioner Giraldo. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Diaz-Campbell, and thank you, Mr. Haller.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next item on our agenda, item 9. Detailed site plan DSP 23034-9395 Lanham Duncan. Mr. Tedesco is representing the applicant. We have the very busy Ms. Gomez, who is will give the staff presentation. We do, I believe, have some folks who signed up to speak on this. There's folks who maybe signed up to speak in support, but there are folks in opposition, I believe, as well. This is an evidentiary hearing. When the time comes, I'll swear folks in as appropriate. And we will start with staff. Ms. Gomez, take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I am Natalia Gomez with the Urban Design Section. Today, this is the last time you'll see me today. Item number 9 on the agenda is detailed site plan DSP 23034, title 9395 Lanham Duncan, which proposes the development of an eating and drinking establishment with drive-through service and associated improvements in the CM zone. The subject property is located at the south side of Lanham Severn Road, appropriately 910 feet west of its intersection with Seabrook Road. This application has been reviewed and evaluated in accordance with the prior zoning ordinance. As a matter of housekeeping, prior to the Tuesday noon deadline, the applicant provided an exhibit which included one revised condition. The exhibit has been included in the additional backup. Staff is in agreement with the removal of condition 1C and will address it in the resolution. The urban design section recommends the planning board adopt the findings in the technical staff report and approve DSP 23034 with the conditions found in the report as revised by the applicant exhibit. Also, staff was notified of the existing opposition to the subject application and contacted Mr. Dorian Smith and separately to Mrs. Ashley Williams from the Seabrook Acres Neighborhood Association to hear their concerns. Mr. Smith and Mrs. Williams stated concerns regarding traffic happening on Lanham Severn Road. The adequacy of transportation facilities is not tested at the time of detailed site plan, but rather at the time of preliminary plan of subdivision. This site has an approved preliminary site plan, and pursuant to section 24-11C2 of the prior subdivision regulations, re-subdivision of the property is not required for the proposed development. Because the property was platted prior October 27, 1970, The total development of the property does not exceed 5,000 square feet. This concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Commissioners, questions for staff?
Job well done.
Yeah, thank you. Can you touch a little bit more on the, it's not before us a detailed site plan, but just refer back to preliminary plan of subdivision and the certificate of adequacy, just for the record, if you could touch on that a little bit. I know you just spoke to it a bit, but I'd just like to hear just a hair more.
Of course. So this site has a preliminary plat of subdivision that I think the number is 12-2366. However, we don't have records available of this preliminary plan of subdivision. So in the subdivision section, when they did the review for this case, they determined that a new preliminary plan of subdivision and final plat is not required. If you would like to hear from the subdivision section, I'd be happy to defer to them so they can maybe expand their explanation or explain.
Mr. Hunt, is there something else or somebody else who could just sort of touch on this a little bit? Because I know it's a little bit of a contentious issue. Again, to be clear, it is not, this is not where we test adequacy of detailed site plan, but I just, for the record, I just want to make sure that the decision that was made around not testing for adequacy at this point and accepting the preliminary plan subdivision, that it's clear why we made that decision.
Sure. For the record, James Hunt with the Development Review Division. We have both Eddie Diaz-Campbell and Regula Gupta here to go through that in further details. But to kind of answer the question, this property was platted prior to 1970, as well as developments less than 5,000 square feet. Under the subdivision regulations, it does not require a detailed site plan because it's well within the trips that are associated with this property. And just like what Mrs. Gomez said, but I'll defer over to Mr. Diaz-Campbell or Ms. Gupta to see if they have anything else to add. But that's pretty much what it is. They've already gotten approved preliminary plan of subdivision. They're not going over the 5,000 square feet per the subdivision regulations, and the property was already platted prior to 1970, so they're exempt from going through the preliminary plan process.
That's very helpful to hear. I appreciate that. And I don't know, Mr. Diaz-Campbell or Ms. Gupta, if you have anything that you want to add to that. Happy to give you a minute on that, but that feels very straightforward to me, Ms. Gomez and Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Mridula Gupta with the subdivision section. Mr. Hunt was succinct in his response. Nothing to add.
All right. Okay. Any other questions for staff, commissioners? If not, we'll turn to the applicant, Mr. Tedesco. Take it away.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, Matthew Tedesco with the law firm McNamee Hosey on behalf of the applicant GN Seabrook LLC, represented this morning by Mr. Garang Patel. And members of our team include Phil Hughes, Andrew Funch, and Tim Stemman from CPJ, Charles P. Johnson and Associates. I want to thank Ms. Gomez for her review and recommendations of this application. I know you probably might be disappointed that she is done for the day, but this too is also my last case, which probably makes some people happy. So, but I do want to thank her and Urban Design as well as the subdivision section for its review of this application. We did hear with respect to some concerns from the adjoining neighborhoods with respect to traffic. I think you've been advised on the legal issue quite efficiently and correctly with respect to this being a detailed site plan. The adequacy determination is made at the time of preliminary plan of subdivision. This site is exempt from having to obtain a new preliminary plan of subdivision. However, notwithstanding the legal issue associated with the fact that that's just not before us this morning, the reality of the situation is that what we are proposing here today is a repurposing of an existing commercial building that was previously used as a bank. In this particular case, it was the BB&T Bank, which has been vacant for more than 2 years now. It had 3 drive-throughs associated with it. The proposal is to remove 2 of those drive-throughs and basically reduce it down to 1. and additionally seeks to reutilize the existing building as an eating and drinking establishment for a Dunkin'. The bank, as I mentioned, has been vacant for many years, and we are significantly improving the building facade and beautifying the property as a new Dunkin' that includes not only facade improvements but also landscaping to the property itself. 3 additional street trees and 55 shrubs will be planted along the frontage of Lanham Severn Road, as well as 34 shrubs will be planted in the perimeter of the property along the eastern side. The existing drive-through will be reduced, as I mentioned, from 3 down to 1, and the retrofit will enhance the existing building and provide a more attractive street presence, delivering a modern aesthetic that features large windows, wood tone lap siding and fascia, metal accents, and brick veneer. Staff went through its required findings, as well as we went through it in our justification statement, which we further incorporate and adopt. The traffic issue is not an issue before you. However, understanding the board's potential concern associated with that, the building is only 2,427 square feet. We are not increasing the square footage of the building. We are fully within the exemption that was articulated by the subdivision section. Therefore, a traffic impact analysis and/or traffic analysis of any sort is not required for this application. Notwithstanding, these types of uses, as you can imagine, really take advantage of the existing trips that are on the network. This is located within an area that is basically bounded by commercial automobile uses. There's a shopping center on the opposite side, of Lanham Severn Road. There are 2 gas stations. There's other auto-oriented commercial uses along this corridor. It is a very commercialized, I will say, corridor. We anticipate a lot of the patrons will be already on the network, notwithstanding. So we don't anticipate there being any associated traffic, notwithstanding the fact that it is exempt from any type of adequacy findings or determinations. With that, we are happy to answer any questions. Obviously, we'll respond further to any of the concerns raised by the citizenry, and certainly are more than willing and able to meet and have further dialogue with the citizens or any folks that are interested in this particular application. I was only contacted by one citizen back in March. We did speak. Their concern also was related to traffic. We explained similarly as you're hearing today but I know there are others that have signed up for this case that I have not been in contact with directly as it related to this case, and happy to continue that dialogue into the future at their desire. So with that, Mr. Chairman, happy to answer any questions, but we do agree with staff's recommendations, its findings, as well as the conditions with the modification to condition 1C, which was discussed with staff and recommended by staff. So with that, we respectfully request your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jessica. Very helpful. Appreciate the extra explanation as well. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant on this item? Seeing none, we'll turn to folks who've signed up to speak. It's not clear to me that we have anyone who signed up to speak on this who's actually here. If there's anyone who wishes to speak on this from the public, if you could let me hear your voice or turn on your camera. Do we have anybody?
Yes, you do. Hi, this is Dorian Smith.
Mr.
Hello.
Smith, all right. Excellent. Mr. Smith, hold 1 second. Do we have anyone else who signed up to speak? I do have an Ashley Williams. Is Miss Williams here? Okay, then Mr. Smith, you are the one. Mr. Smith, let me ask you to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Consider yourself sworn in. We will typically give folks 3 minutes to speak. We'll put some time up on the clock. We'll be a little flexible since you're the only speaker, but this is the time that you have. And if you could introduce yourself, name and address for the record, and the floor is yours, Mr. Smith.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dorian Scott Smith. I live here. Yeah, I go by Scott. That's my middle name, but first name's Dorian. Yes, Dorian Smith. I am with. I live on Underwood Street over here in Lanham, and I'm very familiar with the site location for this Dunkin' Donuts. And you know, just to say, I'm not voicing opposition to this to not have a establishments, small businesses and stuff to come up into the neighborhood because we need it. My primary concern is with the traffic at that intersection. It is very, very dicey. Aside from people coming out of the gas station, the other gas station, the shopping center, there's 94th Avenue that also comes into Lanham Severn. There's people trying to turn on Lanham Severn Road and trying to get up to Carter Avenue to get over to 450. That traffic is horrendous. And I've also seen on occasion coming eastbound on Lanham Severn, people will pass folks on Lanham Severn, go past Carter Avenue, right in front of that Dunkin' Donuts where it's proposed, and to get in front of traffic. So and I don't see a lot of sidewalks there for pedestrians. So that's another concern of mine. Lanham Severn Road has become a drag strip. So I know that's kind of endemic around the county and everything, but there has to be some sort of discussion about improvements to the traffic pattern on Lanham Severn with additional properties coming about on that stretch. Either putting a meeting in there, something to do. Somebody needs to do a study on the traffic. I did walk with Councilman Olson a few months ago when he did a community walk, and it was one of that section was one of the top discussions for everybody in the neighborhood, because when we go down there, especially on rush hour or during the evening on Fridays, it's almost impossible to get through that intersection, to get through that area, because cars are trying to turn to get to Carter Avenue. It blocks the people coming off of 97th. It causes, 94th, the people coming in and out of the gas station. So I'm just hoping that whatever gets done, that there is some discussion about improving the traffic patterns in Lanham Severn. So this is my 2 cents.
I appreciate that, Mr. Smith. I'm glad you came forward. I mean, as you know, and you probably heard through testimony, there are things that are before us and things that are not before us officially in our quasi-judicial role. So some of these things are actually not directly related to the project before us. The flip side of that is I really appreciate you making your voice heard and taking the time and coming out to speak. And it sounds like there are some bigger issues here that we really need to be attentive to. And Mr. Tedesco, I'm not sure if, first of all, Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Smith? Because I want to make sure Mr. Tedesco gets the last word. If not Mr. Tedesco, then I wonder if there is some discussion that can be had related to traffic. It's less the volume of traffic. It sounds like more the traffic pattern, which is a bit of a design issue around the ingress and egress. So is there anything there that may be helpful for you to add for Mr. Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And what I was going to offer is, I believe we have access to Mr. Smith's email address. And what I'll do, Mr. Smith, is I'll send you an email after this hearing. I think the issues that we were having, maybe we can help facilitate outside of this particular project as it relates to the State Highway Administration. This is a Maryland State right-of-way. We certainly have connections and or contacts with respect to the State Highway Administration. I heard you mention Councilmember Olson, so I'm sure that is another resource that can be used to look at whether State Highway has the ability or is potentially looking at potential improvements to this section of road and or corridor for operational improvements, not necessarily adequacy improvements. So I don't know the answer to that as I sit here, but I'm certainly happy to, as a stakeholder in the county in particular, certainly happy to have those dialogues as it relates to safety improvements and or anything that State Highway may be looking into or helping to suggest that they look at certain components or aspects of citizens' concerns related to this corridor. And through connections we have with others like our traffic engineers, et cetera, we can maybe put you in touch with folks at SHA to continue that, at least at a minimum, continue that dialogue.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that helps a bit,
I'll
Mr.
email
Smith.
you right after this hearing. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. I know it's kind of out of the course of this particular case, but we have the platform, so I just want to take an opportunity to communicate with Mr. Smith in that regard. And I will endeavor to do that as soon as this hearing concludes.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Much appreciated. All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. There's nobody else who has signed up to speak on this. The applicant has been given the last word. I will close the public hearing. It is to us commissioners for deliberation. And if there is nothing else, then I would look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve DSP-23034 along with the condition as outlined in staff's report and is further modified by applicant exhibit number 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, second by Commissioner Giraldo. If there's no discussion on the motion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thanks again, Ms. Gomez, and thank you, Mr. Tedesco, and thank you for your attention to Mr. Smith's issues and following up. It's much appreciated.
My pleasure. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Item 11 has been removed from our agenda. So the only thing left for us is item 13. This is an extension request for a preliminary plan. I don't believe Mr. Shipp is on the line. He didn't sign up to speak, but I think this is a pretty light request. And we have Mrs. Ventendust again. Good to see you. And take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, I'm Massa Ventendust with the subdivision section. Item number 13 on the agenda is an extension request for preliminary plan of subdivision 4-21038 titled Wood Property. This preliminary plan of subdivision was approved by the Planning Board on April 7, 2022, and it was valid through April 28, 2024. The preliminary plan of subdivision approved 88 lots and 16 parcels and 1 out parcel for the development of 88 townhouse units. By letter dated May 16, 2024, which was received on April 19, 2024, the applicant requested a 1-year extension of the plan's approval. This is the applicant's first extension request. If this request is approved, the preliminary plan of subdivision will be valid through April 28, 2025. Section 24-119D of the prior subdivision regulations authorizes the planning board to grant an extension to the normal expiration of a preliminary plan of subdivision when certain criteria are met. These criteria and their findings are listed in the staff memorandum. The staff find that all the criteria has been met and recommend that the planning board grant a 1-year extension for preliminary plan of subdivision 4-21038 pursuant to section 24-119D5A of the prior subdivision regulations. This concludes the staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ventendust. Commissioners, any questions for staff related to this request for extension? If not, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 1-year extension for preliminary plan 4-21038.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Washington, second by Commissioner Giraldo. If there's no discussion, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Ventendust. Deputy Planning Director Hunt, is there any further business to come before the planning board today?
Chairman, there are no additional business items before you today, and thank you all again. I appreciate it.
I have one question.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
What's the effective date?
Saturday. It's actually Saturday.
Oh, wow. So this will be, oh, wow. Okay, we should do a party.
Again.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready.
I'm always up for a party.
Yeah.
More parts. Only if Mr. Hunt sings.
Oh gosh. You know what? I will lead off and do that. We get it started. I'll do that.
Oh, fantastic. Maybe, Mr. Chairman, we do a big department lunch or something again. It's probably time for that.
That works for me. We'll get on it. Really. James, congratulations. On behalf of all of us, congratulations. Well earned.
Indeed.
And if there's no further business before us today, then without objection, I will adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day, everybody.
Everybody have a great